Hi Post-16 and welcome to this week's briefing. I'm coming to you from my home, so hopefully you are safe at home in yours. Obviously our main way of communicating with you for many weeks now has been through our community classroom, and I just wanted to draw attention to something that I have been posting repeatedly on the classroom, and which I am now becoming increasingly certain that lots of you have not seen, and that is to do with the all of the advice and guidance that I've loaded up onto our Academy website to help you in Year 12 to make your decisions about what you want to do at the end of Year 12. And that is all on the part of the Academy website that you access through the Post-16 pages. So on the main tab, row of tabs at the top of the web page for the Lee Academy, you click on Post-16, and then on the drop down an item appears on there which is called Post-18 Options, and if you go there you've then got access to 6 pages that are absolutely packed with videos that I've recorded where I talk you through all of the things that you need to be weighing up and considering at the moment about what you want to do after the end of Year 13. There are links there to take you through to the external agencies and organisations that can help you and provide the materials you need to make decisions, and then there are all kinds of documentation loaded up on there to help you with actually completing the tasks that you need to do. The reason I'm drawing your attention to this again in briefing this week is now that we've been back at school for nearly 2 weeks, I've had conversations with lots of you, and a lot of the conversations have been, Mr. Burton, should I be doing anything for my university application yet? Or, Mr. Burton, how do I go about applying for university? And every time I've had those conversations, I have given a somewhat sarcastic response where I've said to you, have you looked at the Post-18 Options section on the school website? Because everything you need is there. And the conclusion I've come to is that lots of you have turned off your notifications while the school has been closed, and therefore you've been missing all of the notices that I've been posting on the Google Classroom about using that section on the school website. If you are not certain what you want to do at the end of Year 13, there's all kinds of material on there, and I talk you through it on one of the videos on there about how you go about making the decision about whether you want to do an apprenticeship, just go and get a job, go to university, take a gap year. If you already know what you want to do, then you can jump straight to those pages on the Post-18 Options website to be able to find out everything you need to know. And crucially, one of the things that I've loaded up on there for you, which is on the menu bar, it shows up as next steps. There's a timeline on there for you that tells you what you should be doing and when, depending on which route you want to take at the end of Year 13. And if you are applying to university, then you should be well underway by now with researching the courses that are available at universities and the different universities that are available that deliver the course that you want to study, and making your choices for that, because it takes a long time to do that part of your research. You've got to whittle down over 400 UK universities to 5 choices on your UCAS application. And another thing that you ought to have done by now is registered with UCAS. That opened for you to do a month ago now. So if you haven't done it yet, you need to follow the instructions on the timeline to register with UCAS for Apply 2021. You need to enter our school's buzzword when it prompts you to, which is Forcella, so the first half of my surname. And when you do that, that connects your application to the school so that we can actually see your application and can do what we need to do with it. You should have got all of that underway by now, but if you haven't done it yet, head to the Post-18 Options part of the Academy website and get underway with it, because researching universities in particular is going to take you time, and you're probably going to have to spend time doing it over the summer holiday as well. your UCAS application window opens in the middle of October, so you don't want to leave it until you get back to school in September, because you're going to be under real pressure then, because obviously when we get back in September, you are going to be having to do a lot of work for school, because inevitably there are going to be gaps in your knowledge and understanding that have developed during lockdown, and so this is something that you can be doing now while you're at home, researching what your next step is going to be and making sure that you've checked that timeline to know exactly what you should be doing and when. So, having made that repeat to you, this week's briefing we're going to focus on equality, which is our 6th parade standard, and I'm hoping that it's going to become apparent to you why I want to focus on equality. I've told you before that one of the very first things that I did when I became director of Post-16 was introduce the parade standards, and I was really passionate about introducing equality as one of our standards. Partly that was for very personal reasons, because I've got a deep-seated personal belief that everybody deserves a fair shot in life, no matter what their ethnicity, their gender, their sexuality, their country of origin. Everybody deserves a fair shot, and it's one of the reasons why I work in the kind of school that I work in and have done for 20 years now, is that I am absolutely committed to equality when it comes to education as well. That's why I don't work in a grammar school. I work in a school that is about opening doors for people, no matter whether or not they've passed the 11+ exam. So equality is very important to me, and it is now very important in our Post-16. You know, we've got a gender balance, we've got a huge variety of ethnicities and national origins in our Post-16, and it becomes really important that we support you in what makes you different in our community. And I want to focus on 2 of those things in the briefing this week. The first is obviously there has been a huge amount of attention globally in the last month on the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, that movement has been around for quite a long time now, but their activism has gathered momentum since the murder of George Floyd, and quite rightly too, because that heinous incident has tipped the balance now, so that now the world is sitting up and paying attention to the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, I know from conversations that I had with lots of you since you've returned to school in the last couple of weeks, that for lots of you this issue has been weighing really heavily on your minds, and it's something that has stirred something in you, to the extent that quite a few of you have actually been actively engaging in the protests. Now, some of you have been doing that remotely, you've been doing it through your social media accounts. Lots of you participated in Blackout Tuesday a couple of weeks ago, for example. But I know that some of you have been going out and protesting. You've been joining the protests that have been happening on the streets in London. Every time someone has told me that they've done that, the first question I've asked is, but please tell me you did it safely, that you were wearing a mask, that you tried to maintain social distance. And while I absolutely support any of your fundamental right to protest in that way, and actually encourage you to take part, please make sure you're doing it safely. When I was your age, I used to protest actively. I protested with the Anti-Fascist League when I was at university. I protested with the anti-apartheid movement when I was in my post-16 years. So I absolutely encourage you to get involved, but do it safely. My question that I posed on the Google Classroom on Monday this week was, given everything that is happening and the gathering momentum with the Black Lives Matter movement, and given that very nearly 50% of our Year 12 population comes from the BAME community, do we want to actually organise something in school? Do we need a Black Lives Matter group in school? I've spoken to several of you about this since we've got back to school, and I think there's quite a lot of interest in it. If you are interested in getting a group going at school so that we can get organised, so that we can find ways for you to make a real difference using the network that you've got at school, then please send me an email. Just say, I'd be interested in being involved, and when we get back in September, I promise you that we'll get something up and running so that you've got a formalised way to get your voice heard. The other thing that relates to equality that we would have been doing a lot about this week in school is that June is LGBT plus Pride Week in the UK, and this week in school, every day, college assemblies would have been focusing on Pride Month and would have been running various activities in the school for Pride this week, and we would have been having a competition running across the Lee Academy's Trust this week in relation to Pride, and obviously all of that hasn't been able to happen because of school closures, because of the pandemic. And in fact, the reason we would have been doing it this week is because the culmination of Pride Month in the UK is London Pride, which happens in the last Saturday in June every year, and that would have been this Saturday. And usually you get in excess of 1 million people go onto the streets of central London to either take part in or watch the parade that goes through central London. They all converge on Soho and Trafalgar Square. They have a big stage set up in Trafalgar Square, and lots of people come and speak to the crowds, or they perform to the crowds. And it's just a massive carnival spirit in central London, celebrating the LGBT community in all of its shades of difference in the UK, and the contributions that community makes to the cultural life of the UK. And equally, it is a political platform for LGBT plus activists to actually raise the issues that are important to the LGBT plus community. Because even though we have in law, we have an equal age of consent and we have marriage equality, getting to that point has taken more than 50 years of campaigning from the LGBT plus community, and there is still a huge way to go in ensuring that members of the community achieve equality in UK society. And obviously part of the movement in the UK is about campaigning for change in other countries around the world. There are still a frightening number of countries around the world where it is illegal to be gay and where they have the death penalty for being gay. For example, in Afghanistan, relatively recently, 2 young men who were accused of being gay, their punishment was to be taken to the top of a big multi-storey tower block and thrown off the roof to their death. And the LGBT plus community in the UK campaigns actively to bring about political change in countries where the population doesn't enjoy the same degree of equality and freedom that we do here. So that would have been happening this week. Now, I'm really proud that I set up and now run every week an LGBT plus support group in school for students called Unity. Every Monday after school in the Post-16 Study Centre we have our Unity meetings. I'm really proud of the fact that I helped to set up an LGBT plus staff network across the Lee Academy's Trust. So in all of the schools in the Trust there's now a network of LGBT plus teachers, and I lead that group. I'm really proud of that work that I've done, and this is another reason why I'm putting the suggestion out there to you that if you are part of the BAME community and you think that we need to have an equivalent group for the BAME community in school promoting that Black Lives Matter agenda, then I am all for setting that up. It's something I believe in passionately, that you as young adults should be able to have a platform for your voice to be heard. So please let me go. Just consider this weekend, it would have been Pride on Saturday. Is there something you could do this weekend to show solidarity with the LGBT plus community? It might be something that you post on your social media that reaches out to all of your friends on there. It might be something that you can do because you know that you've got a friend who's in the LGBT plus community. Reach out in an act of allyship with them and do something to let them know that you are there for them, that you've got their back, and that you support them and that you're there for them. Try and do something to reach out. One event that is happening all over the world this Saturday is it's Global Pride, and basically because every Pride festival on the planet has been cancelled, they're holding a global Pride event that's being broadcast through YouTube this Saturday, and it starts 5 o'clock in the morning New Zealand time, and basically it operates for the next 24 hours. So there will be a time slot where it matches in with when we're awake on Saturday, and you can go online, find Global Pride on YouTube, and you can watch the Pride celebration events that are being beamed in from all over the world, with people from communities across the globe taking part in a massive act of global unity. So that's something that you may well decide you want to dip into this Saturday. So finally, equality is about reaching out and targeting what makes people different and finding ways to unite people in their difference, to celebrate the things that make them different, and to find ways of finding a common language between groups that identify differently with one another. But it's about giving people a fair and equal opportunity to achieve their goals and their dreams in their lives. It's the thing that drives me every day when I come to school, and it's something that I absolutely wish that you would develop in your own lives, that you would develop that same determination to always defend equality at every opportunity through the rest of your life. I found 2 thoughts for us to finish on this week, and one of them is this one here. This is a Native American saying, and the saying goes, the left wing and the right wing belong to the same bird. So it doesn't matter whether you are from the black community, whether you're from the LGBT community, or whether you're from some other community, some other identifying characteristic that makes you different. We are all part of the same community in Post-16, in our school, in the town that we live in our families, in our country, in our continent, on our planet. We are all part of the same community. Whether we are the left wing or the right wing, we're part of the same bird, and therefore we need to defend one another. We need to stand up for one another, and we need to look out for one another. And linked to that, I found this other great quote that said, "You will never influence the world by being just like it." It's the people that are different, the people that stand out from the crowd, are the ones that have the biggest impact on the world, the ones that have the biggest impact on the people around them. Being different, having something that means you identify differently from other people, should never make you feel alienated. You should embrace that as an opportunity, a platform to be able to get your message across and influence and bring about change in your lives. And so whether it is because you identify through your ethnicity or through your sexuality or in some other way, my message to you this week is embrace what makes you different, use it as a platform, effect change in the world, and recognise that when my community stands up for your community, and then your community stands up for my community, we are all supporting one another in ensuring that everybody benefits from equality. I'll see you next week in briefing, and if you're in Year 12 and coming to school, I will see you in school over the course of the next week. Bye for now.